Hey, what's up? It's me, E. Davis, coming to you live this Saturday, March the 9th. Okay, let's get that right, March 9th. And it is International Women's Month. Last Sunday and the Sunday before I said national. So it's international. So women celebrated all around the world for their major accomplishments. So kudos to you women. I give you a round of applause. Last week we talked about the amazing Maleficent and the characteristics of the character development of who Maleficent was, how the character appeared to be a bad guy, and she had good reasons to be a bad guy. These are type of villains that we love. They have a redeeming quality, a redeeming value, and we also kind of understand why Maleficent kind of went off on the edge, had a low attitude, had a low vengeance issue, but we saw that redemption in her through the talk of Maleficent. So today we're going to talk about an awesome women writer, Miss Jane Austen. Those who know the story, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion. Jane Austen was definitely before her time. First, before we even get into Miss Jane, please subscribe to my channel. You can send me an email at writersblockpub@yahoo.com just to say hey. You can find us on our website at www.writersblockpublishingllc.com. You can find us on Instagram at Writers Block Publishing LLC, and Facebook Writers Block Publishing LLC, and Twitter Block Publish. So getting into Jane Austen, you will learn that I am not good at just I'm not good at improvising. I have to take notes. I have to kind of stay focused. So bear with me as I look to the side at my laptop just to go over some notes that I've taken down for Miss Jane. Also, take a look at the blog at writersblock84.wordpress.com. 1984 is significant because I knew I wanted to be a writer and I was 8 years old, and that was in 1984. That is aging me, that is dating me, which I am not ashamed. I'll be 43 years old at the end of the month. So big ups to the 43. Looking forward to seeing that year, that day. So Jane Austen, we know that she was born in December 16th, 1775. That is 1 year before America declared their independence on England. Well, maybe 6 months, 7 months. It doesn't matter. I just kind of find that kind of putting this trivia interesting. And she died July 18th, 1877. So she was an English novelist primarily known for her 6 major novels, which interpret, critic, and comment upon the British landing gentry at the end of the 18th century. Austen plots often explore the dependence of women on marriage and the pursuit of favorable social standing and economic security. So, those who don't get that, and me, it takes me a little longer to get things, so. But that just means that a lot of her books dealt with, do women marry for love or do they marry for financial security? Because you can marry for love, and at the time the man was the worker, the breadwinner, and he may not have made a lot of money. So, but you love him, so you kind of deal with the lack of. You kind of rob Peter to pay Paul. But it is nice to live comfortably financially. It is nice to not wondering where your next meal is coming from. It's nice to not knowing if you can pay the rent next month. It's nice to not know it's nice to not have to live paycheck to paycheck. So Jane Austen really touched base on those aspects in her most well-known book, which is Pride and Prejudice, and outside of Toni Morrison, it is one of my favorite books. And again, like most books, it has become a movie starring Keira Knightley as Miss Elizabeth Bennet. Miss Elizabeth Bennet was extremely independent thinker. She said what she wanted to say. She was very unapologetic. And when the concept of marrying for love or for money kind of toyed with her, she kind of married for both. If you haven't read the book or saw the movie, I'm not going to tell you what happened. I'm not going to get into a long spiel and get caught up in telling a story. You have to read it and see it for yourself. It is a beautiful story. It is Pride and Prejudice. Pride can lead to prejudice, meaning that you can have an opinion of somebody which will make you prejudiced to who you think they are. Sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover. Jane Austen never married because technically that was taboo, to be a working woman and married. You were kind of considered an outcast. But she was also, no, most of her work was known to be anonymous because it was taboo to have that type of feminism about you, if I'm saying that correctly. Jane Austen loved to write. She loved to tell stories, and each story deals with a woman who's battling on what to do with the rest of their lives because they don't want to be mandated by what society says is acceptable. They want to be mandated by what their heart is leading them to do. And a lot of women, even today, wrestle with that. There is, when you're a woman, say at my age, I'm 43 years old, and if you put your career first before love, you're kind of considered, the lack of a better word, a bitch. You're a powerful woman in the corporate world. You are very independent, and some men can be intimidated by that because you have already set the standards of what you want. You can buy it if you want it, and you make no apologies about it. If you are a homemaker where your husband is the primary breadwinner and you pretty much take care of the home, you cook, you clean, you do the laundry, you take care of your kids, you're at the PTA meetings, you're at the soccer practice, you're at the football games, you're at the softball games, you're kind of considered a woman who don't work, but you do because you take care of the household. You manage the household. Your kids come home to you there. Your husband comes home to a hot meal. Nobody has to worry about fresh laundry because you handle it. And technically, you work, but you choose not to go out in the corporate field. So some women frown upon that. And Jane Austen hits on all those aspects. And again, at the time, it was very controversial because it got people talking and got people thinking on what is it that they really want to do in life, and why do I have to marry to live? Why do I have to marry to be comfortable? When if I'm single and happy, why is it that that's frowned upon? Think about it. It makes perfect sense because women are considered the weaker vessel. Women are considered to need a man. Women are considered to not women want to have it all. They want to either have the husband, have the children, and the career. But is that possible for a woman? I say no. That's my opinion because something is going to lack, and when that lack is, then we technically don't have it all, but we do have a balance. And the important thing is it a healthy balance? Now, I am a wife, I am a mother, and I am an entrepreneur. But I did not really drive hard to be an entrepreneur until my kid was at a certain age where she was independent, where she can kind of do for herself and for herself, or I can take the luxury and not cater to her as I would for a small child. And my husband is supportive of me having my own company and my own business. But I do have to balance the time when it's just when he and I want to have a date night, and I do have to balance the time when my kid wants to have time when it's mother and daughter time, and then I have to put the company aside. So there is a healthy balance. If there is a healthy balance, then yes, us women can have it all. But when you are neglecting the most important things, such as your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your children, and you're focusing on your career, that is not a healthy balance. And sometimes the ego hits when the woman is in the workforce and she's making more than her husband. And in the event that the husband, their friends or their comrades know that, their ego can hit saying, your woman makes more than you. Why is that fact? Or their ego is, I don't want a woman making more than me. So Jane Austen, on all of her books, such as Emma, Mansfield Park, Pride and Prejudice, Love and Friendship. No, that's not one of her books. I'm sorry. Let me see. What are her publications? Published author. She hits on every aspect of that and kind of makes you think. And that's why I just want to celebrate Jane Austen. I've read Pride and Prejudice at least twice. Of course, I've saw the movie a billion times. My favorite scene is when Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth declare their love for each other. Epic scene. If you haven't watched it with Keira Knightley, you have to watch it. You have to watch it. There's of course Mr. Collins and his Napoleon syndrome, and of course Elizabeth's sister. Her name, ironically, is Jane, and she is the most beautiful of the Bennet sisters. And again, it was that issue of love and money. It was the issue of social standing, whereas there's the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. There is that issue as well, because you can be of the lower class and intelligent, but because of the class you're in, you're not accepted in the upper class. Old money versus new money. Jane hits it all, and she was doing it before her time. She was a rebel in the literary world, as they say. She was a rebel in her community, but Jane was unapologetic. So Miss Jane, for International Women's Day, we celebrate you. So I am so thankful for, and as a writer, I am thankful for the contributions you made as a woman and as a writer, because you made no compromises with who you want to be. So that's basically all I have today to discuss. We will be discussing other women next week and their accomplishments in writing and in literature. And also, in honor of my birthday month, I like to do some giveaways. So send me an email and see what I will give you. It's going to be a surprise. It's to celebrate me, a woman writer, for International Women's Month. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have a great afternoon.